Welcome to the Shift Method Podcast. I'm your host, Coach D. My goal is to shift the culture of health and fitness through evidence-based coaching and engaging content for the public and health fitness professionals alike. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this episode. What's good, everyone? Coach D here with the Shift Method Podcast. Happy 2024. Listen, we took a month off, okay? Had to recharge, had to enjoy a little bit of life, had to spend some time with friends and family, had to celebrate my birthday, had to do some things at the start of the year. We all know it's a busy time in the fitness space. So yeah, we took a little break, but now we are back trying to be consistent with those bi-weekly videos for y'all. And of course, we're going to do a year in review. I know we've done it traditionally for the last couple of years. So as I said, this is something that I always want to do. Hopefully bring on my same guest, maybe bring on multiple guests in the future. We'll see. But of course, always want to bring on someone that I can share with and that we can learn from each other about, you know, how the year went and aspirations that we have for the future. And of course, that's got to be my man who's on now for the fourth time. That is Coach Elias. Elias, my brother, let the people know who you are.
What's up, everyone? If this is the first episode that you've seen of Damien and I highly recommend you go in chronological order. Chronological. That's like the new mechanical bionicle version of chronological. Go and watch those videos. It's kind of insane to actually watch. I think the first one was filmed almost in 2020 during COVID.
4 years ago.
You can see how Damien and I have just continuously gotten more handsome, and our careers have blossomed quite a bit, actually, because I was a wee baby back then, and just breaking into the more higher parts of the beginning of my career. So, but yeah, Coach Elias, we do all kinds of online coaching, powerlifting, bodybuilding, lifestyle, master's degree from USF. Talk about future school in a second. Currently a research assistant in the muscle lab at USF with Dr. Buckner, as well as the human functional performance lab with Dr. Irene Davis. Doing some kind of muscle physiology, resistance training research in the muscle lab, and then doing a lot of biomechanics and injury prevention research with Dr. Davis. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, always a pleasure. And yeah, I'll be sure to put all those episode links down in the description below. Again, kind of that first episode about 4 years ago at this point, kind of talking about COVID and how it impacted, the coaching industry and just our overall experience. Episode 35 was actually a year in review, very similar to what we're doing today, but was a year in review for 2022 going back. And then we actually did an episode on blood flow restriction and kind of some cool information on the world of hypertrophy and strength and kind of the modern research, because as Elias mentioned, he's kind of in the research world, which is really, really dope to have someone and to kind of spitball ideas with. But kind of like I said, so going over from 2023 and then also talking a little bit about what we hope to do in the future, personally, professionally, going to kind of start off with, just an overall review, man, for yourself, like how 2023 was for you. How have you developed maybe personally or professionally? Like, what do you want to share about how 2023 went for you?
Oh man, that was 2023 was a kind of the start of a metamorphosis that is just now kind of that was where the cocoon kind of started to harden up, and now the cocoon is starting to open up again. Beginning of 2023, I was in the last semester of my master's, still teaching as a graduate teaching assistant. So very, very busy. Now I'm still busy, but just a different kind of busy, but just busy with school and work. And cracking into the research world. And then since I graduated in May, had the summer to do some fun traveling, which I needed, and then start the school year again as a research assistant employee at USF in both the muscle lab and the human functional performance lab. Just kind of all focused on research, on data, from doing data from in the lab from 8 to 4, then clients, online check-in clients from 4:30 to 6, and go to the gym, get something to eat, go to sleep, wake up at 6:30 the next day, do it all over again. And I think the biggest thing I've honed in on my career of really expanding my idea in my headspace as a scientist, starting PhD applications and having some good news come back last week, which was my admittance into Arizona State's PhD in exercise and nutrition under
Yes,
Dr. Jason
congratulations, brother.
Siegler. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll be starting in the fall, which I'm stoked about that. Yeah, Dr. Jason Siegler's a really awesome human being and is really there for his students. That was of course with program things as well, but one of the biggest reasons I was attracted to that program and under his mentorship, just because he's there, he's from the United States but has a really expansive career. He's taught in England, taught in Australia, and this is about just his second or third year back in the US. So really just has a lot of I'm a big community guy, big communication, and the fact that he can connect our lab to labs all over the world is I think really powerful. I think as a person, I've developed a new kind of work ethic. I'm not traditionally a morning person, but I've become
Industry will
a
make you
morning
one,
worker.
man.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the fitness industry, and
Hmm.
I've come to really appreciate the quiet early hours. I think
Nice.
it's motivating to be awake, early and to work early, and um, yeah, so that feels good. And yeah, now I'm just excited to go forward and in the career and do more science and coach more athletes. I now have a team of three bodybuilders. All three compete in bikini right now. We just had Summer, my good friend and client of just over a year, about 14 months, compete up in Tallahassee. She got second in her class and second overall, which
Nice.
was awesome. And she lost to a girl um, who won her pro card. So it was an amazing second place. Um, and she goes for the NPC look. We competed OCB because that was just the show that we could get a hold of because it's kind of a slow time in competing. OCB has a slightly different look that they go for. So I'm confident if she did an NPC, we could have taken it all the way. But yeah, it's been a year of working and learning and growing for sure, and now kind of making another move because I have a very nomadic habit of going someplace for a couple of years and then skipping town and going somewhere else. Yeah, we're off to the desert, out of the swamps of and beaches of Florida now to Arizona.
Yeah, I remember because I was listening to our year in review before this. A term that kept coming up was delayed gratification.
Yeah, yeah,
And it has truly, truly paid off for you, man. So that is
yeah.
just, I'm so ecstatic for you, and that's freaking amazing.
Thank you, man. I
Yes,
appreciate it.
sir. Yes, sir. For
Let's hear
me,
about you.
one thing that I've definitely focused on, and this is something that I have done since becoming a trainer, but I think we have I think you've mentioned it before, like there's stages of like life and training, right? You go
Yeah,
through like
seasons. Yeah.
seasons of training in life,
Hmm.
right? And so I think at the first half of 2023, you get good at a job, like really good now that I've come up on it'll be 9 years this December that I've been
Damn.
a trainer.
Hell
And
yeah.
so I've had like, thank you, thank you. And so I've had like this thing where it's like, you're good and you can kind of just go through the motions and you're good enough at
Yeah,
your
yeah,
job to where like, you get busy and you kind of get a little stagnant at times. And that's not to
yeah,
say that I didn't give my attention and my all, but it's like, you're just busy and you go through the motions for a few months before you know it, you're in June or July. And so
yeah.
I realized this around that time and I was like, I need to make sure that I continue to do more intentional development for myself because I don't know it all. And there's always more
Hmm.
stuff to learn. And so a big thing that I put on for myself, I guess personally and professionally, was just investing more in like continue education for myself.
Hmm.
Going to ACSM out in Denver, which was
That is
great.
so
I got to
fun.
go with the data-driven strength guys and some of the exercise science lab people. So that was really awesome experience. Again, just to learn some stuff out there. Getting into a couple of seminars. They were at the beginning of this year, but also like towards the end of last year.
Hmm.
And so and those things are always like rejuvenating, right? You get excited again. It's like you still have the passion and purpose for fitness, but you go to things like that, you learn a couple nuggets and like it sparks that creativity and that passion
Yeah.
again. So having that like development side and like taking
Hmm.
time to invest in myself has been very, very rewarding and very,
Good.
very good. So I'm
Good.
hoping to keep doing that, man.
Good. Yeah. It's interesting the concept of like delayed gratification. It's very rewarding, and I think sometimes, and I'm sure you dealt with this as well, is when you get in that delayed gratification, you're in the trenches, you're going, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes you lose sight of that light at the tunnel. Sometimes you're
Oh,
like,
it's
this is
easy.
my life permanently. like,
Yeah.
and so I think it behooves us all to take a moment to like have healthy, and I think actually Jake from DDS, it just was briefly talking to him on Instagram last night, but
I'll be talking to Jake
he just
tomorrow.
posted. Oh, perfect. So he just posted, or I asked, he did some like PhD advice stuff. So one of my questions was, how do you keep from burning out in a PhD
Mm,
program, or in anything? How do you keep from burning out in some kind of delayed gratification? He talked about like, even if you have to like schedule some time, some time
yeah.
that is like doing, whether it's reading a certain hobby, XYZ, like, and I think that's important to do that, because then like, what is it for? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
even if you get that thing when you're like depleted in a skeleton, like, what's the point? So I
It's
think
hard to pour from
honestly,
an empty cup, man.
100%, 100%. Lately, what I've been saying in my newsletters is like, you can't expect to burn the candle at both ends
Yeah,
and
yeah.
expect to see in the dark. Like, you
Yeah.
won't have a candle; it'll
No,
be
you
gone.
won't. You won't.
So um, yeah, I think in respect to having just like, yeah, living a life of like, oh yeah, going for something that's a few steps ahead, that's not just right in front of me. It's still important too, and I really need to take my own advice right now. And I'm doing a better job at it now, but yeah, like, make sure you have workout time for yourself.
Yes.
And
Eating your meals, right? As silly as it sounds, I have a friend that I
yeah.
coach right now. Like some of my biggest things is reminding her that she needs to eat breakfast, right?
Hmm.
Taking the time to
Hmm.
take it because she's such a caring person and always make sure that others
Yeah.
take care of. It's like, what about you?
Yeah.
What you doing for yourself over there? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
100%.
Now, this is one I always like asking. I like asking coaches this all the time. And I did ask you this last time. Do you know if there's any like big thing, like where it's in the research lens or like just as like a coaching philosophy lens that you've like maybe changed your mind on or have been like kind of grappling a little bit over the last year or so, or maybe in the
Mm,
recent history?
that's a good question. Maybe to like, to just in general, I guess I'll talk about research, then I'll talk about coaching. I guess for the research world, just as I've spent more time in it and under getting a little bit more comfortable in it, being more open-minded to, because I think when people are on the outside of research, they think, oh, every it's a lot more linear. One study comes out, has some evidence of something, or it has a certain claim, everyone's in agreement, we're all
Hmm.
good, that's science. It just got, I'll say the P word, just got proved. You know what I mean? And now, like, that's just not the case. We don't prove anything. We can disprove something, but we just find more truth towards an outcome. Lots and lots of labs disagree with things.
Hmm.
I won't go down that rabbit hole, but people write to each. I think we talked about this in the last podcast. People write to each other, and they're not always very nice about certain things, or
Yes.
talk to each other at conferences. So just, I think in research, I'm just open-minded, saying there's a lot more ways to do things. Um, both the labs I work in are very productive. They operate polar oppositely. Is that another word? I think I'm creating a lot of word
You can make
oppositely.
them. You're about to be
Um,
going for your PhD. You can do whatever you want.
I can do whatever. Oh God, that's another thing that's scary about the internet. Some people just only, you know, but yeah, just both are very productive in their own right, but operate completely different.
Mhm.
So learning, you know, take some from this, take some from there. When I have my own lab, or creating my own little niche, my own like mini lab at ASU, like, okay, what do I what aspects of each do I want to learn? In terms of like actually changing my mind though, I think I think for a long time, because I train a multitude of athletes, and now I've been spending especially more time in hypertrophy, where I
Mhm.
ironically was doing more strength stuff, even though I'm a hypertrophy guy. Now that I've had these three bodybuilders, um, seeing that people can train harder, more consistently than I maybe thought of.
Mm.
Um, because I think I was coming from a world of like, oh, we have to have some kind of flow of RPE 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish, with top sets and things like that. And that's with heavy weight for lower rep
Right, right.
skills. But when we're just trying to stimulate muscle, we can maybe stick higher, maybe closer to around 8 RPE or 2 RAR, for more consistently, and not,
Yeah.
burn out. Um, really the idea of like the difference between, there's like health phases for clients, building phases for clients, and then
Yeah.
for some who are competitive, have like a prep phase, stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, yeah. And then I think maybe just to put the cherry on top, things for myself is, yeah, I guess to circle back what we just talked about, yeah, just giving yourself more grace. And it's important to have some you time, some de-stress time, because if you become a robot, like there's a certain thing for like if you're trying to achieve something, you have to make some sacrifices, but don't let those sacrifices go too far
Hmm.
because you won't have any of yourself left. You know what I mean?
100%, brother.
Yeah.
I like the hypertrophy thing because, yeah, I think, obviously, like person to person and like what's going on in their
Yeah.
life, right? Their psychosocial factor is going to impact their recovery slash fatigue, like variability. But with smart programming, like you can do gradually more and more hard work, right? And obviously, like, minimum effective dose, like, hey, if I can just give you a little sprinkle and you get 90% of the results versus hitting you with that freaking
Mhm.
hammer and give you 100%, I'm going to
Yeah,
go with the sprinkle of the results, right?
exactly.
But if I get a really good bang for my buck and I can do it in a way that's progressive, and some people just fucking enjoy it. Some people like, I mean, I have the moments,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do too, where I just
Yeah.
let them grind myself into the ground for today. So let's just go after it.
Yeah. 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 100%. I think, yeah, it's ironic. It's funny how that works for some people, even though, if more intensity, if more volume isn't doing anything for them physiologically, that's ironically part of their adherence. That's what gets them in the door,
Yeah.
which I think is also, fair. I'm a very minimum effective dose guy. Like I'm not a yeah, I try to get, especially with lifestyle clients, competitors slightly different, but I think
Mhm.
even though like without going down the volume rabbit hole of resistance training adaptations, I think yeah, I think there's one, what are we going to physiologically respond to, but two, like also, yeah, people just train a certain way to because they enjoy it. And I think my mentor's mentor, so Dr. Buckner's mentor, Dr. Jeremy Lenicky, talked about just in a podcast a couple of days ago or weeks ago, like, yeah, like we might only have benefits from X amount of stimulus, but if that stimulus plus a couple sets or plus a couple reps or plus a couple minutes or 30 minutes in the gym is going to make you have more fun, then who the heck am I to
Yeah.
say don't do that? You're
Yeah.
not allowed. Like, it's your life. So uh yeah, that's
I,
it's kind of my 2 cents in there, I guess.
I like that. I like that. Mine is more on like the business side. A lot of what I'm trying to do is like, working on redefining my brand a little bit, working
Mm,
on with my
I like that.
clientele, especially honing in more on my in-person training. And so
Yeah.
right now I'm doing a course called Impact Speaker. Then I learned about it kind of towards the end of the year. And a big thing they focus on, this isn't new to anyone. We've talked, if you listen to me ramble for, the last couple of years, I'm sure you've heard these words before,
Yeah.
but like, you know, properly like identifying and honing in again on like passion versus purpose, right? So like
Hmm.
Elias has a great analogy. He always uses like passion is like, the salsa in what you got. And then like if your purpose is like the tortilla chip, like the vehicle that's going to get you there, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants the salsa, but how do you get to the salsa, right?
Mhm.
So it's like understanding the difference between those two things. And then the big thing that I'm learning right now, which is really cool, is like how you articulate that to clients, to,
Mm.
staff you oversee, right? And the simple way that they kind of explained it, I'm kind of like paraphrasing here, but it's like tell stories, not facts. And what I mean by that is it important to know the facts, right? I'm talking to a scientist right now, someone who loves reading research and like interacting with like the newest and latest of how things are changing in our industry. Of course, facts are important. And sometimes you meet clients that really do value facts. I have clients that are engineers and they're very
Yeah.
meticulous
I
numbers
was about to
people,
say.
right? But when you're first meeting someone for the first time, trying to fax someone into wanting to work with you usually doesn't work. You have to obviously build rapport, but you have to find a story to connect with something that is emotional and not a story or emotion that's in like a weird way, like, lying and telling a story, but a story that is impactful, truthful and genuine. That is how you get people to buy into who you are and your skills and expertise. And you can more clearly articulate like your message, your mission, your vision, values. And then if you and your client, or at least the person that you're prospecting as your client, is a good match. Because sometimes people aren't good matches, and that's okay,
Yeah,
right? You can help a lot of people, but just because like they're in front of you doesn't mean that you guys are going to click necessarily, right?
100%.
So I think learning that about like telling a story, not telling facts, and or at least starting with like trying to really focus on the emotional rapport building relating side, especially, is like paramount, not only for yourself for articulating who you are, but also to like working with people really in any industry, but especially in the fitness industry, because what we do is so there's a lot of emotion to like being fit and active, right? Or just even being healthy. I mean, obviously, Elias working with, a lot of competitive bodybuilders, like there's still an emotional side of that. But I know you've worked with people who are just like, I want my life back.
Yeah,
I want to lose weight. I
yeah,
want to be able to pick up my kids, or I want to be able to go up a couple of flights of stairs without feeling like I'm gonna have a heart attack. And so there's a very emotional side of what we do. And the way that you can relate to people is by relating through story and relating through,
I love that.
connections. So that's something that I've always kind of known in the back of my head, but now really like honing in on it more granularly and like actually trying to articulate that better, like through my mission statement and through my business.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and that's so true. Yeah, those scientific principles are important, but they don't mean anything to someone who's trying to make lifestyle change.
Hmm.
Like you need to have that connection.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you said, it's not like a carrot on a stick or a carrot on a rope, like, hey, like I'm tricking you. It's more like I'm telling you about myself and I'm telling you about my history so you can lean in and you connect with me because that's the most successful coaching relationships and the longest coaching relationships happen because it's a relationship. And
Yes, absolutely.
I consider all my clients my friends. Some have been my friends for a long time even before coaching,
100%.
but I think it's important, with whatever boundaries we establish. um but it's important to have that relationship because that offers a new layer of trust. Trust opens doors. Doors open the flow of productivity, and
Hmm.
productivity, it comes to permanent or sustainable lifestyle change. So yeah, totally agree with you. And I love that.
Oh yeah, brother. The next thing I want to ask is some of your favorite moments, some of your highlights of 2023. I'll start with this one first for you. So I picked like a fitness and like non-fitness related one. And funny enough, they actually happened like almost back to back, which is kind of
Oh
funny.
wow. Okay.
So I'll start chronologically. The first one was I did a DECA race in May of
Wow.
last year. For those who don't know what DECA is, I believe, through Spartan or partnered by Spartan race. And this is the DECA Mile. So it's actually hosted at FAU through Gravity and Oxygen Fitness at the track and field there. Typically, because I'm actually going to be doing it in a couple weeks here in February. Typically, I think it's done in February. This year, for whatever reason, they did it in May. And if you're unfamiliar with South Florida in May, it could be like 70 degrees. Or in this case, it was like, I'll put the video, I think it was like 90, 95 degrees.
Oh my God.
My wave, I think, was like 9:30 or 10, but it started closer maybe to like 10:30, 11. It was hot. And your boy
Oh my gosh.
trained about 3 weeks for it. Um, was in great shape. Freaking diced for a few weeks. Felt good, lean wise.
Yeah, I've seen your videos there. I'm like, damn, what the heck?
Dude, but let me tell you what though, like I had a moment at the end. So to put context, it's a 1 mile run, but it's broken up into zero point 0.1 mile sprints. So basically you run zero point 0.1
Jeez.
miles, you do one obstacle, and you do that 10
Yeah.
times. So the obstacles, I'll try and rattle them off, but basically it's 30 lunges with a weight, some box step overs. You do a ski erg, a salt bike, rower. There's like a torque tank push and pull for distance, weighted burpees with a ram. I think it's a 30 or 50 pound ram. It's like a Spartan ram. Medicine ball rollovers. There's a couple others that I'm missing, but essentially it's 10 pretty grueling, like anaerobic obstacles
Yeah.
mixed with this like sprint and like you're competing for time. So, I get through like the first 5 or 6. I'm freaking like going really well. I actually like had like done a mock event a few times on my own. And I'm like, dude, I'm crushing this. This is good. I'm doing great on my like personal time. And I get to like the 7th obstacle and like I had to take rest a couple times, jog it out, get to the next obstacle. And I get to the burpees. And Elias, when I tell you, I don't like to give up. There was a moment in my head, I'm like, am I gonna have heat stroke? Am I gonna die on this field? I had a
Jeez.
moment. And I was like sitting there, poured some water in my head, took a drink, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna do this. I finished my last few reps, clocked my time,
Jeez.
PR'd for my time for myself personally, and I was done. I was like, as much as that sucked at the end, I'm very glad I didn't quit. And so it was like a nice little resilience check. But also, it was just a super, super fun event. It was just hot as hell, man. Definitely would not
Jeez.
recommend that at that
It's
time of
terrifying.
year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because like even where you are in Florida compared to where I'm at, like
Oh,
literally this
yeah.
whole winter, it's not gotten, there was like a few days here and there where it was like low 80s, but it's been cold here.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
obviously not like cold how it is in back in Indiana where we met,
Yeah.
but like comparatively to how Florida usually is, it's been really cold in Tampa. Like in the morning, it'll be like in the 40s, and then maybe very low 70s in the afternoon. It's usually around like 50s or 60s lately.
Oh, that
So
sounds
to
nice.
hear a temperature with a 9 in it is terrifying to me right
Yes.
now.
Yes. Luckily, right now it's kind of similar. Like mornings are like 50s, some 40s, but then like
Mhm.
evening time it might get, or like high time might get to like 70 or
Yeah,
80 right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
But I'm glad it's in February this year. So hopefully in the morning it'll be a cool day. It'll
yeah,
feel
yeah.
better. So we'll see how it goes this year. I'll probably make a video out of it. That was fun. Love DECA. Love Gravity Auction for hosting it. They were amazing. And then non-fitness is kind of fitness because it is a trip I did, but I got to go to Denver, Colorado,
Mm,
for the ACSM National Conference. Again, kind of like I did with the exercise science lab guys at FAU. I
that
went
was
to
fun.
San Diego. We also got to go to Denver. Conference was amazing. Learned a lot of cool things, but also just time to like kind of outside of the conference, like sightsee. Denver's a really cool place. Have you ever been, Elias?
That was my first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never been there. Yeah, we ran around, did some hiking. Uh yeah, it was beautiful there.
Yeah, and I got to see this guy's beautiful face, so that was fun. Got to
Yeah.
go do some hikes, got to go to some museums, so that was a went to the first Chipotle ever, which was on my bucket list, as silly
Oh,
as that
that's right.
sounds.
I
Went to the
remember you
OG
texted me
Chipotle.
that.
Yeah, so that was a fun trip. I would definitely go back. I'm actually supposed to go back to somewhere in Colorado for a wedding in September, so I will definitely be visiting there again. But what about you, man? What were some highlights for you last year that you remember?
Definitely. I mean, a highlight of maybe of just a couple of days ago or would be my admittance. I remember I got I got the email when I had just arrived to the gym, and I looked down at my phone and I saw it and I went, yes. And then I just got tears in my eyes and I just like stared out the window for like a minute. And then literally like maybe 1 minute later, my girlfriend Ruby pulled into the parking lot and I was like, here, read this because yeah, so that was awesome. Making the transition from, student to just research assistant has been really awesome, learning a lot. Um, on all sides, data processing, with computer work, which is about 29 hours of my 50 hours that I'm working right now is just data processing. So I'm like, I'm drawing all kinds of, lines and physics movements on subjects right now, and on like video recordings of them exercising. So yeah, data processing and then data collection in the muscle lab, doing a lot of resistance training there, which is, my bread and butter, which I love.
Hmm.
Think of some more highlights. Oh, graduating with my master's in May. That was awesome.
That's
Very
right.
validating, very fun. Um, and yeah, I think making a big movement with myself in my business, forward coaching a slightly different clientele more and more, more bodybuilders, more competitors, adding a health coaching certification to my repertoire. So now
Nice.
I kind of sprinkle that into my check-ins anyways, but then I also do kind of formal health coaching sessions where it doesn't just have to be exercise and nutrition. It can be really anything. Like, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but it can, or a therapist, but it can do like you basically pick a subject and we talk about through via motivational interviewing. So like not saying, hey, I think you should do this, asking them questions and having the client come up with their own answers.
Yeah.
Um, which if any coach is listening to this, you probably already do motivational interviewing if you don't even if you don't know what it is. I
Yeah.
realized I was doing that when I was in the certification process. Um, but yeah, that's been really fun, and having a new clientele when that's specifically what they're looking for. I actually have a new client on Monday. We're starting up, and that was one of the big ticket items that he was excited to start with. So, um, yeah, kind of expanding the scope is the umbrella under like things I'm excited for, and kind of highlight moments, I would say. Yeah.
I like it, man. How was that? First off, what were you hitting and how did the lift feel after you read that you get accepted to PhD school? It must have been like the lift of a lifetime.
It was, yeah, it was upper
Everything
body.
is reps in
Yeah.
reserve 100.
It was actually, to be quite honest, I was like adding, tens on things that maybe shouldn't have. I was just like, yeah, no, 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 I was feeling good. Like, my girlfriend's my training partner, so she was there to like support me. But um yeah, no, it felt great, and it was a big weight off my shoulders, because I'm sure, I remember when, you probably remember bachelor's, master's, like when you send out an application and you don't know when you're going to hear back, and you're just
Yep.
like, okay, like
Yep.
when is this thing that I've tried to, and I, especially with this school, with this program, I spoke to my potential mentor about 14 months prior to being accepted. So it had been in the works for a long time. So it was just a lot of like, basically, like that drum sound, like
Yeah.
before like something happens at the circus or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Just for
noise
months.
was permanently playing in my head for months, if not over a year.
Yeah.
And then the clown finally shot out of the cannon, and it felt good. So yeah.
Super happy for you, brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The last thing I want to talk about is kind of like plans for the future, right? So Elias and I are big goals. People always like to talk about that. It's funny you talk about how you're expanding your expertise and your ability. That's something I have always worked towards, but on the journey of like really honing in on my professional development for myself, of
Yeah.
like things I focused on last year, I've realized I need to narrow it down. And
Mm.
so like I have a target audience. I'm gonna be, even though I'm narrowing it down, I'm gonna be vague right here because I don't have it mapped out quite yet. So I will share, I promise. But basically hiring a mentor and working through like, redefining my target audience, not changing like the whole message of what I do, but making it a little bit more granular. Because if you ask me who I train or who I have trained, I've trained about everyone in terms
Mm.
of professional athletes to, high school students to 80-year-olds to weight loss to weekend warriors. Like I
Yeah.
do it all in a sense. It's like, okay, but what exactly or how exactly does the shift method work and who are you attracting to be a little bit more granular from a business sense? And so
Yeah.
that's actually something that I'm working on, and not in the sense of I'm just going to narrow my skill set forever, but really trying to narrow down who I want to serve more so. And so
Yeah.
that is something that I'm very excited to work on. Like when you're like writing something down, Elias, or like you have a goal, an idea in mind, you start writing it down, you're
Yeah.
like, oh yes, this is really, really nice. I had one of those light bulb moments talking with a mentor of mine about that.
Heck
So
yeah.
once that is like kind of crystallized, I'll be sure to share it with y'all.
Awesome.
Um, but we're working on kind of like a 90-day plan right now for like
Rad.
helping my brand out more, helping kind of clearly define more so like who I'm working with and why I can
Yeah.
help them and how we're going to work together. And ultimately just working with more people in person, getting, I still do the online side of things, but becoming an even better in-person coach is kind of like
Mm.
my main focus, at least for the immediate,
Very
as we
cool.
go into 2024. But what about you, bud? What are you focusing on?
I think right now we're in the trenches saving up for the move to go to
Hmm.
Arizona. Um, Now I think I'm on the business side, and very honestly similar. Like I've have a couple, not a, yeah, in some degree, some mentors or even friends that are doing similar things as us, but are in a slightly different niche of like slightly kind of niching down a little bit, and kind of like honing. Like I'm expanding my scope, but I think for more specific, I'm a specific group of people. So
Mm,
uh I think my under the umbrella of highly motivated people, like, because I think I'll at the end of the day work with anyone that is highly motivated that will show up. I'd rather work with, you know, an 80-year-old that's going to text me back and communicate and
Yeah.
execute on goals than with an NFL player that's going to pay me $30 million a month. Don't quote me on that. Maybe I will take the 30 million, but no, just kidding. But yeah, like
Breaking news.
um yeah, but I think also like niching down and focusing, and it's been hard because like you said in the past, like when you're going through and you're busy, it's hard to upgrade. So I think now
Yes.
finding time, especially in the summer, nearing the summertime, to upgrade and um, kind of create that content. And then in terms of, did I lose my train of thought? Would you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, yeah. Just like kind of plans that you have for either personally or professionally for yourself as
Oh
you're
yeah,
going through 2024.
yeah. And then I guess for professionally, in terms of the research and part of my career there is really arrive to ASU and establish a mini lab within the human performance lab. I think it would be the muscle lab, for give or take a term, and then communicate with, I think Damien and I were talking about this a little bit before, but, talk with the master's students that are strength and conditioning there, everyone interested in resistance training, as well as Brooke Butterick, who is a second year PhD student under Dr. Siegler. She's been amazing communicating with me and telling me all about the lab. She comes from a nutrition, right? She's a registered dietitian. She comes from a nutrition background, and it's cool because this program is exercise and nutrition. So you kind of get both parts. So I said, let's do this program a lot of honor, and maybe we can do some projects and research that is like has expertise in both. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Usually studies have, it's an exercise study, has a little sprinkle of nutrition. It's a nutrition study, has a little sprinkle of
Yes.
of the other one, kind of the other side of the same coin. Maybe we can go in and, you know, create expertise and projects expertise from both sides. So, really kind of finding my own niche there. I think under the umbrella of, niche in business, niche in research,
Hmm.
niching down and really kind of focusing on how we can, just create better content, better papers, better stuff for all people to benefit, whether it's research, whether it's clients, whether it's just free content on the internet. Because like you said, shift method is fitness and education.
Hmm.
That's very similar to how I'm aligning my life as well, just education for all. So um, yeah, I think those are the plans as of now. Right now, those are the goals.
I love it, man. Well, going off to PhD school here in this fall, and obviously, you're going to do great things both for your business and for that, dude. So I'm super excited to learn more about that. Can you let people know kind of just where to find you, where to connect with you, any of the resources or any coaching that you have opportunities for them?
Definitely do all kinds of coaching right now. Offer really it's a customize your own program, but kind of on a whole, I use these as examples, but basically strength slash powerlifting, hypertrophy slash bodybuilding, fat loss, and performance. We can do a hybrid of anything like that. um, do kind of basic packages that are a little bit more, here's some structured exercise, let's check in a little once in a while, about once every 4 weeks. Here's my newsletter, here's my individualized voicemail that you get every week. Or we do the whole shabooti, the whole full package, kind of the nutrition, stress management, exercise, that whole deal, as well as a competitive version of that as well. You can catch me on coacheliasfigueroa.com. That's kind of my best way to get a hold of me right now. Instagram, do some posts there and things. I may actually change my Instagram name very soon. So I might have Damien update that in the near future. So right now it's Coach Elias underline MS, but that might change soon to just kind of be uh, kind of carry out a message. And then with the degrees changing, that'll
Of
just keep
course.
changing. So I want to do something a little bit more permanent there. So yeah, probably the best way to get a hold of me, go to coacheliasfigueroa.com. I have submission forms for potential clients, and just if you want to get a hold of me for business or communication, you totally can do that. And yeah, thank you guys
And,
for having me.
and you still have a newsletter, right?
Yeah, I've got that newsletter. That is for that more specifically is active clients
Gotcha.
on pause, and kind of my closer circle community. Um, so yeah, that's basically for like clients, potential clients, soon to be. But on there, I post a lot of motivation, nutrition, things I'm doing in research, stuff like that. So, even if you're interested or want to jump on the family, not commit to training right away, definitely reach out to me. We can add you to that. And yeah.
Perfect. I'll be sure to put all that in the description down below. Y'all know where to find me. Website is theshiftmethod.org. Y'all know for YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff. We're going to be at the_shift_method. Actually going to be stopping the TikTok side of things here in the next month. So I would say primarily just stay on Instagram and YouTube Shorts. That's going to be where my main content is. As y'all know, we got these podcasts every other week and then YouTube videos on the weeks that you miss. So weekly long form content. If you're in the South Florida area, specifically around Boca Raton, I got some spaces for you if you want to come train at Johnny O's gym. And of course, similar to Elias, I do some online coaching, more so for the general fitness side of things, where Elias more so does like the bodybuilding and kind of the hypertrophy and strength side. So if you're interested in some online coaching, whether that is a more check-in style where I update your program weekly, or if you just want kind of a template to kind of follow at your own pace through your own, time, I also have custom training templates available at theshiftmethod.org. But otherwise, Elias, it was good seeing you, brother. So proud of you. So happy for you with the PhD journey coming up here. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Damien. So proud of you as well, and excited for the 5-peat whenever it comes about.
That's right. That's right. Later, everyone.